Firestorm, man. Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Alright, so this is something we're really familiar with in Star Wars fandom. Things get slow, there's not a lot going on. We may not know when the next stuff's coming. So what do? Well, we make shit up. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this
morning? Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing alright. There's tons of what I just said right now going on.
Yes.
I mean, at least that's the way I feel.
Well,
that's my take.
Your take, I'm just going to throw this out there right off the bat. I'd have to say your take is very similar to my take, and I think our take is fact. So that's just, we'll just see how things play out here, and we'll let everyone listen and decide for themselves.
But see, what's fun about that, right? Like, we get in these slow times, people just really start grasping that stuff, and some of these things actually take hold.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It does happen.
Yes.
Some of these things are right. It's just stuff we overlooked. The pieces fall into place. You know, so some of that stuff actually it may have legs, right? So that's the fun part, is like when everybody starts just making stuff up.
Right.
Some of it's actually good.
Yeah. Some we'll see.
We'll see. Some of it is it's crazy.
Right.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's what we do.
That's right.
And that being said, all along the way, makes for a good time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
we certainly,
the merits of it, like as far as like if it's going to play into canon later on, it is somewhat inconsequential at that point, because we're going to have fun talking about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, might as well do it.
And we don't begrudge anybody for having like unique thoughts and you know, coming up with you know, their own theories and stuff at all. But, you know, some of them don't float. We'll just say that.
Right. But look, like every person like throughout history with a great idea was called crazy at some point. So
this is true.
So that's the way it goes. That's just the way of things.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just like everybody that comes up with an idea be like, "Oh, that's a great idea."
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
Some people got to be called crazy, and some people got to be wrong sometimes.
Yep.
But anyway, what's not wrong, and what is, you know, pretty much I would say considered as fact, is Jon Favreau has come out and confirmed that that season 2 of The Mandalorian will start in October.
Yes. This is something that it was rumored a couple weeks ago and confirmed now.
Yep. So on schedule. I guess it helps when you have something happens that delays production, things like that. It helps if you're ahead of schedule to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I would say The Mandalorian is, you know, the whole crew is like in a far better position than most other TV shows and productions in the works right now.
TV shows, movies, the news. They're just ahead of everything.
Yes, exactly. Which lucky for us, because that means we're not going to have to wait an extra long time to get our next season of the Mando. So
to get more Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah. Good with this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy the Mandalorian is like running the way it is, because this is a show that, I mean, when they first announced it, you would think that this whole idea would just be, you know, tough to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've tackled it in a in a real masterful manner. Probably because of all the people that they keep bringing in. When you have this many good ideas,
Right.
I mean, no one's really swung and missed here, so that helps. All your directors come in and kill it. Your actors all come in and kill it. It's hard to fail when everything's going like that.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, that's exciting. I'm really looking forward to season 2, and they got a lot to live up to now because they far exceeded everyone's expectations with the first season.
Oh yeah. Season 1
So-
set that bar very high.
Yeah, so they've got some hype to live up to.
For sure.
So, where do you want to go, Doug? Do you want to go into the Disney Gallery stuff? Like,
Well,
we haven't really talked about it much. Recently we kind of let it fall to the back burner.
that we did. We did when it first came out. We started covering episodes 1 and 2. So I did start pulling some stuff from subsequent episodes. So something that we have mentioned, but we didn't dig deep into, is this notion of Mando's helmet. You know what I'm talking about.
Have you ever removed your helmet?
No,
Has it ever been removed by others?
never.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So
Oh, Hydra.
right. So it's funny because it's kind of almost the way it's discussed on Disney Gallery is Bryce Dallas Howard actually talks about how she approaches it like this is just kind of the way it is, there.
Mandalorians, and as far as our Mandalorian is aware, cannot reveal their faces. Our Mandalorian subscribes to this. If he ever reveals his face, he can never put his helmet back on again. He cannot be a Mandalorian anymore. And he's wondering, can I take off my helmet? Can I be a piece?
So this is strange because, any Mandalorian of consequence
Of old. It's of old.
Of
right?
old, right, that we've seen prior, right?
Yeah, they
all
just take
taken
that
their
thing
helmets
off. I don't
off.
care.
Yeah,
I mean, the only time we've seen like someone in this equipment that
right.
refuses to remove their helmet, and we shouldn't even say refuses to. He was never asked to.
Right,
Was Boba Fett.
right.
Boba Fett added to this whole, man with no name,
Yes,
can't take off his helmet. That's the character that added to that lore. That lore has since been blown up with Boba Fett's not actually a Mandalorian.
right.
With all the instances that we've seen Mandalorians.
So
like true Mandalorians.
yes,
So that has been blown up there. Every Mandalorian we've seen on screen has removed their helmet at some point.
yeah, and that's
So-
their character of little consequence.
Right. This is almost like this is a they did say in the show that like it's not a race, it's a creed.
Right,
So the Mandalorian race is what we're talking about. They would remove their helmets.
yeah,
This new creed, on the other hand, obviously has a problem with that.
and right. So they've adopted this procedure for whatever reason. I think this is something that we're gonna have to kind of like get into on the show to kind of like inform the audience as to why it is this way in The Mandalorian when it's not in the Clone Wars and Rebels and things of that nature. Because, it's just different, I mean,
well, I mean, we've obviously reached a time where being a Mandalorian is not something you want in public. Yeah, there's a select few that go out and do these bounties, things like that. They allude to that in his show.
right.
It's not like every Mandalorian's out there doing bounties.
True.
A lot of these people are hanging out underground.
Yeah.
Kind of like a whole Batman kind of thing going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I just feel like they're going to have to give us a little bit of something as far as an explanation, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're going to have to explore this. Like, why did this come to be?
Right. All throughout.
Why do they not reveal themselves?
Right. All throughout season 1, it's been a thing, right? An ongoing thing, you know, taking the helmet off. But
right, especially since like you don't take your helmet off, you don't reveal yourself, and then the bad guy calls you out by your name.
right. Yeah.
It's like, well, shit. I did all this work, keep my identity a secret, and this guy just knows who I am.
But that's the other thing though. We don't even know that the whole keeping the helmet on thing is necessarily to mask your identity. I mean,
Well, what else would it be?
well, it wasn't for masking the identity of any Mandalorians in the past.
Well, yeah, but I think we've established like this is not like the Mandalorians of old.
Right, but clearly, if that was the reason for doing it, it didn't work so well. You know? I mean, Moff Gideon has got some really good, like, intel, yeah. And how he would have that when Din Djarin has been living with the Mandalorian since he was a kid, I don't know.
Got me.
So that's one thing that I don't know, kind of struck me. I thought something we can discuss because I got a feeling they're going to have to address this not removing the helmet thing.
Yeah, because I mean,
point.
we've got more questions than answers here.
As it usually is with Star Wars.
Yeah, this is really a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, definitely worth discussing and thoughts because you know, it departs from what we're used to with Mandalorians in general. So, interesting thing to think about.
Oh, for sure.
So, in this third episode of Gallery of Eight, talk about characters. They talked a lot about Gina Carano, and you know, she had a lot of you know, parts where she was explaining things from her side and all that, is just about herself and things. So I don't know. We'll just get into it. This is actor character that I think you and I both like a lot, and check it out.
For this job, physically, I was myself. John wanted to put a woman that looks like she can take care of business in armor, and he actually, through this job, has helped me learn to love what I am. I think when everybody realized I was strong was the scene where I have to pick up Mando and I have to drag him into the common house. And I went out there and I got behind him and I picked him up from behind and I drug him in.
When she is carrying Mando, she really carried him. That wasn't a stunt double. That was Gina just strong-arming him and just dragging him across that. It was crazy. It's awesome being a young woman in this industry and seeing other women being portrayed in a really heroic, badass light. And Gina is a perfect example of that.
Well, it helps when you're a badass to begin with.
That is for sure.
I mean, that's something we talked about with the announcement of her playing a character in this. And I think it was even right away we knew that she was playing this Republic shock trooper, right?
Right. I think so. Yep.
And it was like, well, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, she's an MMA fighter. We've seen what she's done acting in the past.
Yep.
So it was a perfect fit.
Yes.
You know, she seems like she could portray that kind of character. Like, you don't become a shock trooper just because you're there.
Right.
You become a shock trooper because you can kick some ass.
Yes.
So
everything about the casting of Gina Carano playing Cara Dune is authentic, right? I mean,
yes.
there is. She's obviously acting, and she's doing a great job at it. But I think this is, well, I'll just let her explain it here.
Yeah.
Cara is an ex-shock trooper. She comes from the planet Alderaan, which is a very peaceful planet, and it obviously gets blown up. So she left there. So she was a little bit of a different character, like on her planet. She was a rebellious one. She was like, I'm interested in war. I'm interested in fighting. I'm interested in the things that get your adrenaline going. I feel like this is the first time I've actually like genuinely gotten into character.
So she can identify with this character, and that, I think, is the icing on the cake for how she plays the character, because it's you know, it's her in the Star Wars universe. You know,
right? So you've seen Deadpool, right?
I have.
Okay, so you know in Deadpool she plays this character that's meant to be like the muscle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just this tough character, and it makes sense because she's tough.
Yep.
Right? She can fight. She kind of made a living doing it.
Right.
But something about her character in Deadpool seemed off. Seemed forced.
Yes.
Right? Which shouldn't be that way, because this is a character that can do those things. Like, she could kick the crap out of you.
Yes.
So portraying a character that you're supposed to feel like can kick the crap out of you, feeling forced, that seemed off for her.
Right.
But there's something about her character, Cara Dune, that you feel that way. Like she can really take care of herself.
Right.
And it feels authentic.
Yes. But then on the other side of the coin, we're hearing Gina Carano speak in these interviews, and we can get a little bit of that side of her out of the character, like in the episodes of Mandalorian as well, right? You know,
right.
you get those little the scenes, unless you're ready for round 2, one of us is going to have to leave this planet, and I was here first. Yeah. That kind of stuff, just, I don't know, just brings a grin to your face. Good stuff all around. But,
well, I mean, I think they let the whole tough take over with Deadpool.
Yes.
Like, it had to be tough all the time, no matter what.
And right, which can make the character seem flat,
Right. Especially if the actor involved isn't feeling that, right? Like,
yeah,
like just doesn't quite feel it the same way they would as a character who is tough, but has a mind of their own, has a heart,
right?
Like Cara Dune has all those things, leadership ability, good mind, right?
Exactly.
Toughness, good heart. So it's a well-rounded character, and probably an easier character for her to get into.
Yes. I have a feeling that, and she basically said it, right? that Cara Dune is more like Gina Carano than any other character she's had the ability or opportunity to play.
Right, and a lot of it is like they probably had this idea for the character, found the actor they wanted, and then adapted the character around said actor.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't clip this part, but there was a point where oh man, what's his name? Mando, actor.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway,
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro, right. Pedro chimes in. He says when he came in and was auditioning or reading some part or whatever, he actually says they had drawings up on the wall apparently they were talking about who was going to play that character, and he looks at the character and goes, well, that's Gina Carano you have drawn up there. And they're like, that's who we're wanting to get, kind of thing. So apparently they had her in mind from the get-go. And well,
apparently there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a character, like, if there is one character in The Mandalorian that I really want this show to dive into, it is Cara Dune.
I totally agree.
They have done such a good job of introducing that character to us that we just want more of that character. It's just a fun character. And fun in the way that, like I said, she can whoop some ass.
Right.
And she has a heart.
And
you look at all the stuff with the like locals on that planet, right?
Right.
She really cares for them.
Yeah. And at this point in the character's life, there's history, there's a past, and there's things that have happened that have gotten her to where she's at when we meet her in The Mandalorian. So definitely, I would even like to see some of that stuff, from Alderaan. I mean,
well, yeah, we talked about this. There was rumors of spin-off series from The Mandalorian. And this was literally, you can go back, I don't know how many shows ago it was, but you can go back and we immediately jumped to Cara Dune.
Absolutely.
It was the first character out of our mouths.
Yep.
I mean, and how could it not be? I mean, look at how well Cara Dune has done on screen. It's an interesting character.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we want. We want interesting characters that we can relate to, things like that. Cara Dune has all those things. And that's a character we need more of.
Absolutely.
Period.
For sure. So, Gina goes on to talk about Carl Weathers here a little bit. It's kind of cool.
Carl Weathers is somebody that you just love to see and love to watch because he commands presence. And he taught me a lot about that, just by watching it. And he'd also tell me on the side, I remember one time I couldn't get something right. And I was just kind of upset with myself. And he was reading a paper and he was like, happens to all of us. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm over it now. Thanks, Carl. But just a precious, precious human.
Well, for me, there's no surprises there.
No.
Because while we talked about how we've come to love Cara Dune and Gina Carano, go back, listen to this show. When they announced Carl Weathers as being in this show, I lost my mind.
Yep.
I mean, because to me, Carl Weathers is one of the best character actors out there. He's just good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all those movies he's been in, and with guys that, if you ask me, can't act very well.
Right.
You know, you watch him in Rocky. I don't think Stallone's a great actor. I'm sorry. Stallone's got things going for him, but I don't think he's very good at acting.
Right.
Same with Schwarzenegger. He's got a lot of things going for him.
Yep.
Not a great actor, in my opinion.
Right.
But you put Carl Weathers in these movies with these guys, and he makes them better.
Exactly.
Because he's doing so good with his character. He's playing a side character in these films. I mean, Rocky, a little more of a main character, but still kind of a side character in the film.
Sure.
But he makes the people around him better because he's so good at it.
Yeah.
He gets into these roles and you believe him.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the other guys, I don't feel like you believe them. You feel like they're acting. They have this dry delivery, things like that.
Yeah.
But you have someone like Carl Weathers who he's in it.
Yeah.
You know, almost like a method actor would be. He's just in it.
Yep.
So
and I love her story where, you know, he's the guy on set who's got all of this experience under his belt, and you know, he's mentoring, you know, she's having a bad go of it, and he's like, hey, you know what, this happens to all of us, you know, that and it's just that sometimes that's all it takes, is just that one little you know, bit of reassurance from somebody who's been there and done that, you know, for years. Say, hey, you know, you get past it, be all right. And
yeah, but not only that, but you got this vision from the way she was talking about it, as like he is so nonchalant, like he's kicked back in the chair there with the newspaper.
Exactly.
Like, it happens.
Yep. That's exactly how she put it too.
Yeah, like he's just like, what are you worried about? Just do it again. You're good.
Yep.
Don't let it get you down.
So
yeah, like I said, no surprise.
Good stuff. Right. So
that was probably the single most excited I was about the show was when they said, "Hey, Carl Weathers," and I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, for sure.
Like the best, like, and knowing he wasn't going to be in a starring role, but he's just so good at those, you know, supporting roles as a character actor.
Right.
He kills it. He's great at that. And he makes everyone around him better. And you hear right here why. Yes.
And we're gonna get a little more insight into I kind of screwed up. I jumped clips. So we have one more clip.
Oh, damn it, Doug.
I know. One more clip on Cara Dune. This is Jon Favreau talking about that character, and we'll come back to little Carl Weathers here in a second. But
okay.
I did want to get this in because
messing up my role.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, man.
George Lucas was referencing an older generation. You know, he was a baby boomer, but he's really referencing the Greatest Generations films, right? So he was referencing World War II films. He was referencing movies he grew up with, and he, you know, the way he would treat action was the way that those films treated action, and the way that they would cast the action heroes back then would be people who really, like, especially with Westerns, they would go back at Gower Gulch. There'd be real cowboys, and there would be people who really knew how to ride and rope, and knew how to fight, and knew how to shoot. And it was all very authentic. And that's how people became movie stars sometimes. They were people who actually had that background. It's almost like what we do with martial arts now, with martial arts films, that people become actors out of that skill set. So having her there, it feels like a bit of a throwback to me. And to me, there's so much, I don't know, there's something so relatable about her in that role. And she's playing the type of role that that's the type of action figure I would have wanted the most.
So
Yeah, that's because when Gina Carano throws a punch in film, it looks like it's gonna hurt.
right, exactly. Yeah, she's done this before.
Yeah, because when she punches you, it would hurt.
Yeah, for sure. But I love a couple things, right? I love the fact that Jon Favreau is trying to use the same type of methods that George looked to his mentors using, right? This is it's not in any of these clips, but this is something that Jon Favreau has said about the Mandalorian. He's not necessarily looking back to what George did, but he's looking back to what George was looking at in his what he loved about movies. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to go to the original source and how they did things and stuff. So I think that is really helped to make this authentically feel like the Star Wars.
Well, we've talked about this before many times, especially over the last couple of weeks, really. But it was like the whole, like, trying to do what George did, right? Like, trying to get that nostalgic feel.
Right.
There's a difference between trying to do what George Lucas did and going, hey, what inspired George Lucas to do what he did?
Exactly.
Like, you can copy someone, or you can go, hey, what inspired that person to do this? Let's look at that.
Right.
And let's use that as our inspiration to tell a new story with our ideas, but using the same inspiration.
Right.
So I think that's a fantastic way to approach it.
Yep.
Obviously, I mean, look at how one's received versus the other. While you get decent reactions out of both, one is getting much more of a favorable reaction, and that's because you're getting something fresh.
Yes.
But it's hitting on the old notes because the inspirations for the stories in the old and the new are the same.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, I'm trying to mimic what he did.
Yeah. It's like, it's like copying cassettes when you were a kid, right? Or at least when I was a kid, dating myself. Every copy you made off of a copy, it was just a little bit more degraded, right? So you got to go back to the original to actually get it as close to the original as possible. And that's the way I feel that, the Mandalorian's done a great job of doing. I mean, I would have to say that its success is demonstrating how much the fan base feels that as well. So,
yeah, I mean, if we're going to put like a music twist on it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I feel like J.J. Abrams was making a remix.
A cover version?
No, like a remix, like using the old song and then like putting little notes in between, right? Like,
I gotcha.
Making a remix, and then Jon Favreau made like a cover.
Okay, yeah.
Use my artistic influence to put a new twist on something, but using the same influence.
Right.
So, like, you got a cover versus a remix, where I just use the old stuff for the remix, and add some little tweaks here and there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Whereas, like, with a cover, you're adding your artistic flair.
Right. To the original inspiration.
Right. Because doing a good cover, in my opinion, like, good covers are different from the original.
Yes.
The best ones are.
I agree.
And yeah, okay, they're using the same, the same notes and things like that, but they're doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
Hell, there's an example in Star Wars. I mean, the celebration at the end of episode 1,
right,
is almost like a cover of the Emperor's theme. just played in a major key.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not the best example, but
yeah, I get what you're saying.
But it's like it's putting a new artistic flair on something instead of just like taking the old one and like, okay, here I'm gonna add a little over here.
Right. Okay.
So I feel that's like I feel more and more that's what like J.J. Abrams was trying to do. He was trying too hard to just capture the old.
I think there's a certain degree of that. And you know, definitely trying to put a modern spin on things for sure. I will say that. But I don't know.
I said, just sticking a little too much to the blueprint.
To a degree, yeah.
Not getting creative enough on his own.
I get it. So,
yeah.
I have one last clip from this episode of the gallery, and kind of going back to Carl Weathers a little bit. They were talking about how his character was actually supposed to get killed off like early on in the season, and how his character was also supposed to be like an alien race, and they kind of talk a little bit about how number one, you have Carl Weathers. I mean, why would you put a mask on Carl Weathers? That's you have Carl Weathers. You know what I mean? So, and then
right,
and then Dave talks a little bit about directing some of these scenes where mask might be a little bit in the way. So.
We had that camera test moment where you and I were shooting some stuff and we were testing the cameras, and then we had a couple of people in big masks and different prosthetics, and we were trying to do some simple directing for it in a scene, and it was just setting up the bar, and I was sitting there and I was kind of nervous.
He had never directed,
directed live action for it. This is just a test.
And it was,
and he's like, okay, go ahead, you go, do it. And it's like a guy with 4 eyes and a giant mask, and he can't see. He's bobbling around, and I go up there and I try to.
Somebody wearing the Mando cut. You came, but you weren't in the test.
No. And I'm trying to give it a little direction, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to set this up right because John's watching. And I give them the direction, and that way be here, and you're cutting the drink off. Okay, you got it. And the guy is like in the mask like this. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And I'm thinking like, I could draw this so much faster.
Yeah.
I could draw this so much faster. Why am I doing this?
And we watched the monitor.
And we watch it the monitor, and Coach watches it, and he's like, okay. He goes, okay, let me go. So he goes in. Now the first team goes in. The punt team came off. The first team goes in, and he goes direct, and he comes back, and he's like, okay, watch. And we watch it. It was better, but it wasn't great.
It was still clunky.
And then we're sitting there, we're like, maybe these masks are a big mistake. Like, remember we were like.
So it's kind of funny that, for all of the masked alien creatures we have in Star Wars, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And listening to Dave, who was directing, this is his first shot directing live action, is like, you can only imagine someone as influential in Star Wars as Dave Filoni feeling at the moment like, oh my God, this isn't working.
I feel like subliminally he was feeling the same way we were. Like, you got Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Why do we have a mask on Carl Weathers? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Right. I don't even know if it was so subliminal because, in another part in the episode, which I encourage everyone to go watch, they do talk about that, and they were far more blatant about it. It's like, yes, we cannot put a mask on Carl Weathers. It's
right, like he's just it's Carl Weathers. Like, he's one of those guys that, like, if you say his name to someone, they're like, who? But then you explain all the things he's done, and they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, because like, and I think that's the beauty of it, right? You remember his character.
Right. Which is
you don't remember him because he's a name on a marquee.
Right. And that's
you remember him because he plays great character. You say Apollo Creed, everybody knows Apollo Creed.
And that's a testament to his acting ability.
Yes.
For sure.
You remember his characters. You don't necessarily remember who played them, but his characters are burned in your brain.
Yep. What's funny
because it's Carl freaking Weathers.
What's funny is they talk about the whole bit where they pull him aside and say, "Hey, okay, so Carl, I think we're gonna have you do it without the mask." And he's like, "Yep, I know." So, great sense of humor too. So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, he literally is like, if you follow film, there are names of people that are the great character actors, right?
Right.
They're not known because they're big movies, like huge movie stars, like main character, on the marquee. They're not known for that. They're known for being great character actors. They play characters that you remember.
Exactly.
That's Carl Weathers.
For sure.
And in all honesty, that's a better testament to acting than, being the name on the front of everything and everybody remembers you because of that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I think if someone remembered, this character or that character or that character, that'd be more of a compliment, right?
A compliment to your work. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Most people probably don't know Ian McDiarmid's name.
True.
But they know who the Emperor is.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the same kind of thing.
Yep.
There's a reason that guy still acts on, the
stage,
live stage, right?
Yes.
Because he loves acting. He loves being a character.
Yep.
He's not doing it for everybody to remember Ian McDiarmid. He's doing it because he loves playing a character and he wants you to remember that character.
Absolutely.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right, so Sam Hargrave, I believe he's the second unit director for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
That is correct.
He has some things to say about the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I guess he was doing an interview with Collider, and I guess the best way to put it out there is just to have him tell you himself.
I'm not designing this to get you in trouble, but there are very few people on the planet that know the true name of Baby Yoda. Are you one of those people? Obviously, I don't want you to say it. Spoiler free.
Yes, I know the name of the kid. I do.
Right.
I carry that secret. It's a very heavy burden.
Well, you should feel good that you actually have that, but at the same time, it's almost like if it gets out, you're now one of the people that could have said it.
Definitely, I would be on the suspect list, no doubt. And then Disney, I'm sure Disney's listening to his phone call or this interview right now, and they're waiting. They're just waiting with to send the strike team in.
I don't think he's kidding.
No, I don't think so either. The only thing I'm wondering about is if, those guys got like mouse ear hats. or if the badge is in the shape of castle.
Yeah, definitely. If you leak that name, definitely stay away from small aircraft.
Right. Yes. But
it's tragic.
Interesting though. Apparently, the child has a name.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
Well, okay, but you know, one of a couple things has to
I
happen.
mean, that would be like going through the entire original trilogy with just calling Luke Skywalker "Hey Kid."
Right. Well,
Like-
okay. But what occurred to me here is one of a couple things has to happen moving forward, whether or not in season 2 or not, I don't know. But one, the child has to speak and say, "Hey, I'm Bill," or something. You know, I mean, or
Like, why do you keep calling me the kid? I have a name, you know.
exactly. Or we have to meet somebody who knows the child's name.
I think we've already met that person.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Moff Gideon?
Yes.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
I think, and I think that will be the source of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know when. I doubt it'll be in confrontation. It'll probably be like an offhanded conversation that introduces it.
Okay.
You know, but I think Moff Gideon would be the one that knows that name. Hell, he knew our main character's name. That dude's never taken his mask off.
Ah, you make a good point there. Yes.
This guy knows things.
Right.
So, Moff Gideon is the character to watch if you want to know the name of the child.
I like that. Okay. I got to be honest. My first thought was Ahsoka. You know, Ahsoka coming in, knows of the child, and is looking to get the child to somewhere safe. So maybe she would have known the name, but
that would be my second guess.
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
but I think Moff Gideon, he knows things, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Moff Gideon is going to be a character that we are going to see a lot of in season 2, I believe.
It sounds that way, and Giancarlo Esposito's talked about all the lightsaber battles and things like that too. So I got a feeling it's going to be action packed. So okay.
Yeah, just exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got a good delivery too. Like just like offhandedly saying stuff like like, "Hey, I know your name."
Right.
So yeah, he's got a great delivery for that stuff. I think that's the character to watch.
Yeah. Okay. Good call.
All right. So I think it's like this is the time where we go into like the Star Wars tabloids, right? Like this is when we go into like, is it crazy? Is it not crazy?
I like this. Okay.
So like this is the tabloids.
This is
like,
good.
Like this is gonna be the stuff like you're sitting in line at the grocery store and you see the headline and you gotta wonder, is it bullshit or is it not?
Right. This might just
So
be
this
crazy
is what
enough.
we're in right now.
It might be crazy enough that it's true. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's so crazy, no one's gonna believe it.
I love it.
But it's true.
Right.
I mean, hell, we don't know. But
we can tell you what we think, that's for sure.
Yes, we can absolutely do that. All right, so we've been talking about the Mandalorian a lot, and there's been talk about Baby Yoda and the Mando meeting Rey.
Right. So it comes from We Got This Covered. I don't want to get super deep into it, but just the thought here is that apparently it's rumored there's going to be a Rey standalone movie following the Rise of Skywalker some point down the road, and there's going to be some sort of the Mandalorian would be some sort of launch pad to promote Rey's movie. And
okay. So to me, this is someone's wish list. Right?
I think so too.
I don't see a purpose for this. Like, okay, you're gonna have a Rey standalone movie. There's tons of things out there to set this up. Yes. Why do you need this show to set up something that's gonna happen? Like, why would Baby Yoda and Mando meet Rey prior to the events of The Force Awakens to set up a Rey standalone film? It just doesn't make sense. Right. But you're gonna have Rey the Scavenger? I'm sorry, not interesting.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, interesting as a setup to a major film that leads into her becoming a Jedi, but not interesting as a movie on its own.
Right. So I do want to throw this out there, just for the sake of, as much legitimacy as possible, right? So this is quoting from the article. According to our intel, which comes from the same sources that told us Ahsoka Tano would be in The Mandalorian second season, months before Rosario Dawson's casting was announced, and also revealed the Rise of Skywalker's General Hux twist before it hit the theaters.
Can I interject?
Please.
Months before Rosario Dawson's casting was announced.
I know.
That hasn't happened yet.
I know.
So, I guess they're right? It's still months before.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Proceed.
Yeah, okay. It goes on to say, in an effort to tie the movies and TV shows together, the current plan is to have the Mandalorian's two biggest stars cross paths with Rey in order to generate more interest in her spinoff. I'm sorry. The last movie starring Rey, Daisy Ridley, did over $1 billion. I mean, how much interest do you need to churn up through The Mandalorian? I'm sure it would, but
but do you need it?
I don't think you need it. No,
you don't. She lit this orange lightsaber blade.
That was enough.
And everybody's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You got a story. All right.
Exactly.
So I think they don't need this to happen to have a Rey standalone series or film or whatever be successful. So yeah, I'm putting this on the.
Yep.
All right. So here's another one. This is headlines are crazy, right?
Right.
So the Rise of Skywalker doesn't play into the future of Star Wars.
Right. This is a headline from Screen Rant. And to get to the gist of this, it's basically talking about how the immediate future of Star Wars is pretty much all about The Mandalorian and the High Republic in publishing and things of that nature. And we can move away from the Rise of Skywalker in a lot of people's minds was not the greatest Star Wars film. I don't know. Personally,
well, I'd agree it's not the greatest Star Wars film.
It's not the greatest, but some people have problems, serious problems with it. I think it was a good wrap up for the sequel trilogy, which the sequel trilogy in and of itself was loaded full of problems. But
yes,
to wrap up that trilogy, it did a good job in my mind. So, they're.
So basically what you're saying though, like you said, it's not going to tie into The Mandalorian or the High Republic, which means this article's headline is crazy because it means the Rise of Skywalker will not play into the past of Star Wars because everything they're talking about is before the Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you think about it, this article directly contradicts the last article we just talked about. So, I mean, you're right.
2 different sources.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but if the thing from the first source happens, then the second source is wrong.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay.
But, everything in the immediate future for Star Wars, you are correct, is stuff that happened in the quote unquote past of the canon timeline. And
yeah, pretty sure it was all in the works before The Rise of Skywalker even came out.
So. Yeah, exactly.
Like, at least there were meetings.
Right. Yeah, none of these things happen by accident. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I have a problem with this kind of writing. Right? We've talked about this before.
Absolutely.
But, like, I have a problem with this kind of writing because this is obviously someone who is not a fan of the way The Rise of Skywalker played out.
Exactly. This is true.
But one of their articles before The Rise of Skywalker is probably something like why your opinion about The Last Jedi means nothing.
Right.
Right. So, like, this is the kind of thing we're dealing with here. Like,
yes.
It's look, if you don't like it, fine, cool. It's your prerogative. There's things I don't like about it. I'll agree with you on some of this. But yeah, this is if you're going to be reporting, let me do the air quotes here, news. Let's have it be news.
Right.
Let's chill a little.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of how do you put it? Undertones to the writing in this article that led on to the way the author feels. Okay. I mean, for example, let me just, in some ways, Star Wars' true Disney era can start now, with TV shows, books, and video games fleshing out the lore in interesting ways. So, clearly not happy with the sequel trilogy for whatever reason. Liking this movie, not liking that movie.
See, but when this happens, right, like the true Disney era can start now. Like, I question, like, have you liked Star Wars at all until now? I mean, I don't even know, because it sounds like you don't even like what Disney's done so far.
Right.
So at what point did you start liking Star Wars? Because I'm not finding it here.
Exactly.
So, and if that's the case, you're just waiting for the Star Wars that you finally like. I think your opinion is like, I don't care.
Exactly. So, I don't know. Again, this is one of those things that, when you look at it the way you brought it up to me, all of those other things coming in the future for Star Wars happened in the past as far as the Rise of Skywalker is concerned. It's kind of like you read the headline and go, yeah, well, duh. So,
well, I mean, and they're really, like I said, it's a total clickbait thing, because they're talking about the future of Star Wars in the real world.
Yeah.
They're not talking about the future of Star Wars in the story sense.
Exactly. And that's the Star Wars I'm concerned with.
But they write that article like they're talking about the future of Star Wars in the story sense. And that's, yeah. Take your clickbait somewhere else.
Exactly.
All right. How about this one? All right.
Okay.
I always love seeing these stories. So how about this Snoke theory could fix the Rise of Skywalker's biggest Palpatine plot hole?
Whoa. That's plot holes?
I mean, sure.
Okay.
Won't disagree. But I don't think this fixes the biggest plot hole.
Biggest plot hole?
About Palpatine.
Right.
Which would be like, how the hell did he survive?
Exactly. Kind of blew up the space station, right? Fell down the giant hole with all the blue glowy smoke or fire, whatever.
Yeah, apparently, according to this article, the biggest plot hole about Palpatine is how he created Snoke and manipulated him. I thought that was pretty cut and dry.
So did I.
I mean, dude and said, "Hey, I'm gonna play puppet master here."
Exactly. He was pulling the strings the whole time. He had vats of Snoke clones laying around. I mean, I think we can put all that together for ourselves. I don't know. Seems kind of. I don't know. I'm at a loss because what's the biggest plot hole? I think we just demonstrated, how do you survive blowing up a space station?
Right. I mean, I would encourage everybody to go over and, read this.
Sure.
Just because, this is, common amongst theories, right? A lot of theories that are out there always go to this. Hey, season 3 of the Clone Wars, Mortis.
Oh, yes. The Mortis arc.
Dude, the Mortis arc is fantastic. It's tons of fun.
Absolutely.
But one of the craziest things about the Mortis arc is it completely turns everything on its head a little bit.
Right.
Because you can come up with so many crazy ideas based on what happened in Mortis.
Yeah.
So, and as I read this, this is what this is, right? This is just, you take what happened here, you kind of twist it around a little bit. It's oh, this is probably why this happened. Well, so this article's on Inverse.
Okay, I do got to bring up a couple things from this article that they're claiming, not claiming, but they're implying their theory would be that Snoke is the son of Mortis. And somehow he survived after Anakin killed him. But Palpatine was able to bring him back and use him as a puppet. And that is somehow more convincing than what we were led to believe from the film. I don't know. For me, it seems like a far more convoluted way of getting around to just to make Snoke somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then, even if the son somehow magically survived what happened with Anakin, right?
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of emphasis on the father, using that dagger on himself.
Right.
And how that pretty much robbed him of his power.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I have a hard time with this. So, and Snoke is the funnest thing to talk about right now because social media went a little crazy. I can't remember. It was a couple days ago from when we're recording this.
Okay.
But there was this whole big fan theory about how Snoke is Mace Windu.
Oh my.
I'm like, what?
Okay.
So
I'm going to say no. Number one, Snoke has hands. Mace would have to at least have prosthetic hands.
Right. So, okay. So we got point one.
Right. Point two, I'm not sure how tall Samuel Jackson is, but in order to become Snoke, I'm sure he had been put on a rack or something. I mean, got stretched out.
What? Force lightning does crazy things.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Makes you grow.
We don't know how long he was falling. Gravity does crazy shit.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
sure.
He might have got taller during that fall. You know,
Maybe.
it just happens, right?
Right. I don't know. That one's a little out there. Okay, I'm calling that one Negatory.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely negatory. And then what was the other one I saw? Oh well, let's do this one. Okay.
Yeah.
So The Last Jedi's Broom Boy.
Ah, yes.
Speaks out about not appearing in the Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
So then I read this article. It's like, oh, what do you have to say? Well, like, as far as speaking out goes, I mean, okay, let's talk about speaking out.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's just go through that. So he says, a lot of people were asking me about returning, and I said, well, we'll have to wait and see if I get called back. But I guess I kind of understand why it happened.
Right.
Testify.
Yeah.
This is some strong stuff.
Right.
Come on.
I know.
What the hell is this?
I don't even know what to say because yes, speaking out.
Speaking out would be like, hey, they signed me to a 2-movie deal and they screwed me over.
Right. Something like that. But this, don't get me wrong. For what The Last Jedi was and his part in The Last Jedi, like, in my mind, it makes sense up until the epilogue. But for a lot of people, it's the epilogue that makes him something more, right? Drawing the broom to his hand, using the Force. I get it. There are more than just the Skywalkers and the Palpatines in the galaxy that can use the Force.
Here's my problem.
But this story is about the Skywalkers and Palpatines. Thank you very much. Sorry. Okay,
it's
go ahead.
not even that, right?
It's a little bit of that for me. I mean,
it's a little bit of that just because of the characters that are involved, right?
Sure.
But let's just take a step back, right? Like, okay, so you have this scene where Rey levitates all these rocks to save everybody that's left in the Resistance. The whole 6 people.
Right.
Right? She levitates all these rocks. This is crazy feat. Right?
Yep.
And then in 5 minutes time, you have this boy pull this broom 6 inches to his hand, and they're like, that kid's gonna save the galaxy.
Right.
What the hell did Rey just do?
Yeah, exactly.
She did that, and now this kid's gonna save the galaxy? I'm confused. All this tells me is hey, there are other people with the Force. If Rey fails here, maybe there's hope.
Right. But Rey hadn't, she didn't do a whole lot of failing.
The problem is Rey didn't have the super secret rebel decoder ring that Rose gave, her. It was you had to have the super secret decoder ring.
That's right.
He had the decoder ring. He used the Force. He must be destined to save the galaxy.
That's right. I have to say, one of the things about The Rise of Skywalker that I truly loved was the fact that Rey was a Palpatine. Because this story is linear about 2 families. Okay? This is, again, going back to the classics. Long before Star Wars was ever, Hatfields and McCoys, right? Capulets and Montagues. I mean, it's 2 families warring against each other. To muddy it up, unless this kid is some long lost Skywalker from somewhere or Palpatine from somewhere, I'm just not interested in regards to this story. He can have his own story, and I'm sure it would be fabulous, but doesn't need to be interjected into this storyline, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I agree. I mean,
Cool.
you look at, and then let's look at other heroes across other genres, right?
Uh-huh.
So like, you got heroes that save the day, right? You got Superman,
right?
Wonder Woman,
right?
Boy.
I know.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, Broom Boy was meant to show this beacon of hope in the galaxy. He played his role. And he was looking to the stars. Like it was that Luke Skywalker moment, right? Like I get that. He's looking to the stars.
Right.
Dreaming of something more.
Yes.
And someday that kid might have a hell of a story to tell.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 2 years later in the next film.
Exactly. And for me, I've got to say, I would have been much more satisfied with that character doing something inside of The Last Jedi to free himself and his friends from the servitude they were forced to endure. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the movie, in this epilogue, it is clear that they are still in the same situation that they were in before meeting Finn and Rose. So, if you know what I'm saying, if he could have done something to help save himself and his friends, and they showed that in the movie, that would have been far more satisfying to me than this epilogue showing, kid looking off into the stars, like someday,
Right. Huh. Well, at the risk of it affecting the tag of our show this week, I'm going to say this. So are you meaning to tell me at the end of The Last Jedi, we didn't have a villain or a goddamn hero?
I'd call that
seriously?
I'd call that a true statement.
Like, it's just like, come on.
Yeah, I'd call that a true statement.
I apologize. I couldn't think of any other way to put this. But like, did you really not want the first two films to mean jack diddly? Like, hey, here's two films. But hey, the villain isn't important.
Right.
The hero that we've been establishing isn't important. What's really important is this Broom Boy and whoever J.J. Abrams comes up with in the next film to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. And whatever it is, Rian Johnson can't wait to see it, right? That's what we heard
because the supposed bad guy in that film, he still don't know if he's good or bad.
Right.
Like making Broom Boy the hero that saves the day is just like just ruining everything he did.
Yeah. I don't know. I gotta say though, I do like talking about this, Joe. This is this is something we need to do more of. I think I think we'll have to keep this going a little bit as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of this all the time.
Yes.
Especially now, like right now, we're all bored, right?
Right. Yes, and there's clearly there's a lack of news going on. So this may be something that we can hit on a little more. I like it.
Yeah. And hey, if you've got anything to say that like would like prove me wrong there, right? Like, I'm open to it. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can end a movie by like saying like, hey, I know you've got 6 hours invested into this or 5 hours or whatever invested into this.
Right.
But hey, that didn't matter.
Exactly.
Now we're getting to the real story.
Yeah.
Come on. Get out of here with that crap.
I love it.
Oh, I had one more.
Okay.
I had one more. Let's just real quick.
Sure.
So another thing that was floating around social media this week is that Disney is in development of a Palpatine prequel film.
Oh. Okay.
So diving into, the early days of Palpatine, right? Like
prior to episode 1, right?
Prior to episode 1.
Okay.
How he came to power. I mean, I think we saw how he came to power in episode 1, 2, and 3. But
right.
There was, I think the more important story there would be like, how did he become a Sith Lord?
Yeah.
What was that training like? Who was his master?
Plagueis.
I mean, we have ideas, right?
Yeah.
Episode 3's little monologue there.
Yep.
And then obviously we have the Plagueis novel. I mean, if you take that Plagueis novel and make a movie, I'm all in.
Yeah, same. I would love to see that, a film adaptation of that novel. That would be awesome. Canonize that for sure.
Yes, I mean, and not only just telling Palpatine's story, but using the first half of that to tell his master story, Plagueis' story.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. There's, I mean, you could just use the book.
Right. So
there's a script already.
I get the, I don't know. It would be cool. I don't know. Is that something that everyone's clamoring for? But like the Obi-Wan series.
The answer is no.
We know people want to see that.
The answer is no. No one's clamoring for that.
Right.
Would people like to see it? Sure.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Right.
Sure. People would love to see that. Are they clamoring for it? Absolutely not.
Okay.
I haven't seen a movement like make the Palpatine prequel.
Right. Yeah.
There is no hashtag Palpatine story must be told. It's not happening. So, it's not a story. I think that it's definitely not a story that Star Wars fans would reject.
Right. Certainly wouldn't reject it. But I do believe that, we do have enough with the Plagueis novel and then the whole saga, Skywalker saga, that we've got a pretty complete picture of, who Palpatine was. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a complete picture of how the Emperor came to be.
Yeah.
How Darth Sidious came to be, we don't. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that would be a cool story. Darth Sidious, right? Like, how did Darth Sidious come to be?
Sure.
It'd be cool. But I think there's tons of things we could latch onto along the way. That would be like, man, we should get that story.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing. When Lucasfilm starts to branch out and tell other ancillary stories, I think there's going to be a lot of people chiming in saying, well, this one should be a thing and that one should be a thing. And, you can't do them all, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the names up right now, but they had like a actor that was tapped for this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was some actor from X-Men.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, when you tell this story, you can't use Ian McDiarmid for that.
No.
So I understand that whole sentiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. Not something I see coming into practice.
Right.
I don't see it happening. I think Disney's plan for the future is to branch off from the old. It's time to start something new.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
And in all honesty, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Hell, they could have done it sooner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a vast universe. There's tons of stories to tell over thousands upon thousands of years.
Yep. I would love to see more of that too.
Yeah.
broaden the scope of the timeline.
Yeah, there's no reason to stick to the old timeline.
Right.
I mean, I won't fight it, but I don't think there's any real necessity to just stick to that.
Right.
There's not. There's so many stories to tell. And I'd rather see them branch off and do something new, in all honesty.
Yep.
I would be more excited about a Star Wars story 1,000 years before what we've seen than I would a Palpatine story.
Right.
Just
Agreed.
because I don't know anything about the other thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I at least have some base work on Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of predisposed opinions.
Yep.
So I'd love them to go in a direction where I have nothing to shape my opinion.
Yeah, you're not taking any baggage into the theater with you.
Right.
Or in your living room when you're going to watch it.
You know, they go into this High Republic era.
Right.
What do we got? We got nothing. There's no baggage there.
The only thing that we can say as of right now that I'm aware of is that we can say this is still within Yoda's lifetime. So we could see Yoda in this.
Yeah. But what does that mean?
It's not much. You know what I'm saying? But that's all that we have. The only connective tissue that we have to what we know already. So I think, you know, in my opinion, it would be wise to not even involve Yoda in it. But I got a feeling he's going to get sprinkled in here and there. So, you know.
I mean, you have him, right?
Right.
Yeah. I like the idea of fresh. I think fresh is the way to go.
Yeah, agreed.
And it puts all of us fans, right? Like, so whether you're PT, OT, ST, we're all on equal footing.
That's right.
When it comes to this new stuff, what would we have to fight about then?
You know what? It's Star Wars. It's something that we all love
we'll
watching.
Find something.
We shouldn't fight about any of it, but you're right. We will find something to argue over.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for me, I'm a straddler here, right? Like, I just kind of
exactly.
I straddle all of these timelines. I find something good in all of them.
Yeah, and there is something good in all of Star Wars. You know, there's something good to take away from every bit of it. It's like, you know, I guess it's all in what you're going in looking for. If you're looking for some negative stuff, well, you'll find it. If you're going in looking to take out the positive stuff, then you can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So, yeah. Oh, we'll keep an eye out, right?
Right.
All right. Well, if you have anything to add, or you want to tell me how wrong I am, you can always email us. show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.